guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all staying safe and healthy out there. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I got this gold glitter makeup look. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First things first, we need to prime our eyes. So I'm going to be using a mixture of the Morphe Fluidity concealer in 3.55 along with the Bperfect eyeshadow priming base. I'm going to use the Morphe Fluidity concealer first to carve underneath the brow, and then the eyeshadow priming base from Bperfect, I'm going to go ahead and place that onto the lid and just kind of pat that in until it sets down all the way. So for the majority of this look, I'm going to be jumping into the Melt Cosmetics Rust palette. I have been loving this palette so much. It's so pretty. It's just a ton of warm neutral colors. So I'm going to be using a lot of different shades from this palette. First shadow I'm going to be going into is Wrought Squared, which is the darkest shade out of the palette. I'm going to start packing that onto the outer corner, and I'm just going to make sure to slowly build that color up using very light pressure so I don't get a lot of fallout. Next shade that I'm going into is Rust, which is like a warm reddish brown. And for that shade, I'm going to use a clean Morphe M506 and start blending that into the crease as well as the edges of the shade Wrought Squared. Then next I'm going to go into the shade Erode, which is like this really pretty yellowy like mustard color, and that's going to be our last transition shade. I'm using a mixture of a Morphe M506 as well as like a larger fluffier brush from Morphe. I'm going to use a mixture of those two brushes to blend out the edges of this eyeshadow look, just to make sure that everything is super diffused and there's no harsh lines anywhere. Now for the lid, I'm going to go back in with that Bperfect eyeshadow priming base and start prepping the lid for shadow. I'm only using a small amount of this because I'm not trying to like cut the crease or anything like that. I want this look to be kind of like diffused and really soft. So I'm just going to go ahead and pat that really gently onto the lid until I have the shape that I'm going for. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Tarnish, which is like a really pretty like antique gold, and I'm going to start placing that onto the lid as well. I'm using a flat brush just to make sure I get like maximum pigmentation and everything. I'm going to be using a gold glitter on top of this, so I kind of want to make sure that this shadow is showing up underneath. I am going to be doing a liner today. I'm not doing like a winged liner though. I'm going to stop right at the outer corner. This eyeliner is from Melt Cosmetics as well. It's their Ultra Matte Liquid Liner in the shade Molten. So I'm going to use the applicator to apply this and then just kind of go back in using my angled brush just to make sure everything is really straight. So once I have the liner on using that applicator, I'm just going to use a very small amount on the back of my hand to apply it with my brush. Then just to make sure that that liner is nice and matte, I'm going to use the shade Mar from the same palette and apply that directly on top using a small little flat brush. And I'm also going to go in with that shade Wrought Squared and just add that to the outer corner of the liner as well as the outer corner of like my eyeshadow look, just to really make sure everything kind of blends together. Next, it's time for our glitter, yay! So the glitters that I'm using today are from Glow Up Academy, of course. These are from my girl Kiki Adams. These glitters are so bomb, guys. If you haven't tried her glitters, you need to try them. They're so amazing. But I'm going to be using a mixture of Buny, I think, and Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower is like the main color that I use. I just used a little bit of Buny to get like kind of like that yellowish gold look. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and apply that using the NYX Glitter Primer and just kind of gently pat that over the lid. Next up is mascara. I'm going to be using one from L'Oreal. I'm just going to do a couple of coats of that before I apply my false lashes just to make sure everything kind of blends in together. So once I have my mascara on, I'll go ahead and apply my lashes. The lashes that I'm using today are from Lilly lashes, and these are in the style Carmel. I love these lashes so much. They're really cute. They just kind of flare out towards the ends, and they're super, super fluffy. So I definitely felt like they would look perfect with this look. So I'm just gonna pop those on using some tweezers, and then I'll go ahead and pause with the eyes for a minute and move on to skin. So my skin has been on the dry side as of lately because I've been using like some products to kind of get rid of like some hyperpigmentation scars on my face. So I'm gonna start off with some moisturizer. I'm using the Clinique Dramatically Different Gel just to kind of help re-moisturize the skin. I'm gonna massage that into the skin really well and just kind of let it sit there for a little bit just to make sure the skin like soaks it all up and everything. But once I have my moisturizer on, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of extra like hydrating, moisturizing using the Farsali Rose Gold Face Mist. I'm gonna do a couple of sprays of that and just kind of fan it down again just to kind of help re-moisturize the skin. I'm gonna go ahead and prep my skin next using some primer, and the primer that I'm using today is from Mercier. This is their blurring primer from the Pure Canvas line that they just launched, and you guys, I am in love with this primer. She's a thick one. She's definitely like a thicker primer, so I'm just gonna go ahead and apply that onto the skin right after before I move into foundation. For foundation today, I'm gonna be using an OG. This is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in the shade NC45. This is like the first foundation that I ever bought that was like high end. Like years and years ago when I was just getting into makeup and I was like only sticking to like drugstore makeup, and I finally made the decision to buy something like high end, MAC was like the first place that I went to. And on top of that, it's just like a bomb formula. I feel like it's crazy how even years and years later, like this foundation still makes my skin look flawless. Then once I have my foundation on, I'm gonna go ahead and start applying concealer. I'm also gonna be using a OG MAC product. This is the Pro Longwear Concealer in the shade NC35, and I'm gonna be using that to start highlighting all the areas that I want to brighten. So the under eyes, the sides of the nose, the sides of the mouth, and a little bit on the chin. You guys know I love to layer some concealer, so I'm also going to go in with a second one from Urban Decay. This is the Stay Naked Correcting Concealer in the shade 50WY. It is a little bit lighter, so I'm only going to take a very small amount of this. I'm going to apply this on the innermost portion of the under eyes, and using the same brush, I'm just going to go ahead and blend that out as well. So I'm gonna start setting all of my liquid products now. I'm using the Mercier Translucent Powder in Medium Deep first to set the outside perimeter of my face. And I'm just gonna use a nice fluffy brush just to make sure everything is really soft and I'm not applying too much product. Then to set the under eyes, I'm going to use a mixture of Laura Mercier's original translucent powder as well as their secret brightening under eye powder in the shade number 2. This one has more of a yellowy tint to it, so it works really well for the under eyes. You guys know I'm not one to bake, but I am going to be using just a tad bit more powder than I typically do, just to kind of snatch up the nose a little bit. So I'm taking it really close to the bridge of the nose. I'm going to let that sit there just for a second while I highlight the bridge of my nose as well. So I'm taking a really small amount of that Morphe Fluidity concealer, same one that I used to prep my eyes, and I'm just going to add a very small amount of that onto the bridge of the nose to highlight. Next up, I just want to bronze and contour, so I'm using the Black Radiance True Complexion Contouring Palette in medium to dark, and I'm going to be using a mixture of the contouring and sculpting powders from that palette and just adding that on all the areas that I want to add a little bit of extra warmth, some extra dimension, so the forehead, the cheekbones, a little bit on the jawline, and just a very small amount on the nose. Then for blush, I'm going to be using the Violet False Vibes palette. This is actually an eyeshadow palette, but I've been loving like the way that these two like peachy type of shades look as blush. So I'm going to be mixing those two together and just adding that onto the apples of the cheeks and just kind of blending it into the bronzer that we just applied. Then moving back to the eyes, I'm first going to go back in with that shade Erode and start smoking out the lower lash line. I'm then going to go back in with that shade Rust and add that really close to the lashes just to kind of start smoking it out a little bit more, defining that lash line a little bit. And then I'll go back in with the Wrought Squared again too, just to kind of give the lower lash line a little bit of extra definition. Then for the waterline, you guys know I've been loving a beige waterline. So I'm using this L'Oreal Infallible eyeliner. I believe this one is in the shade Nude, but I could be mistaken. I'll make sure to put the correct name down below in the description box, but any like beige waterline would work. I'm just gonna pop that onto the waterline just to kind of help brighten things up a little bit more. And then for the inner corner, I'm gonna be using another shade from the Rust palette. I'm just using this off-white color, and this one is called Classic, and I'm gonna pop that onto the inner corners just to keep that nice and bright. And now that our lower lash line is all done with shadow, I'm just gonna add my mascara. I'm just going back in with that same L'Oreal mascara that I use on the top lashes. For brows, you guys already know I'm using the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade, and I'm not doing like a sculpted brow or anything like that today. I'm doing something more kind of like bushy, if that makes sense. So I'm pretty much just gonna focus on filling in any sparser areas by creating faux brow hairs. Then to set the brows, I'm going to use the Anastasia Dip Brow Gel in the shade Dark Brown. So lately I haven't been highlighting my face, but I still like to highlight my nose. So I'm using this Anastasia Loose Highlighter in the shade So Hollywood, and I'm just going to add that to the bridge of my nose, the tip, and the sides of my nose. And then finally for the lips, I'm gonna go ahead and line them first using my favorite lip pencil right now. This is the Melt Cosmetics All Day Everyday Lip Liner in the shade Edible. It's just this really beautiful deep brown, so it works really well with a lot of different nude lip colors. I'm gonna go ahead and line first with that and just make sure to kind of bring it in on the outer corners so it blends in a lot easier into my liquid lipstick. Then to fill in the lips, I'm also going to be using two liquid lipsticks from Melt Cosmetics as well, and these are in the shades Ginger and Golden. I love, love, love the shade Golden. This is like my new favorite like nude lip color. It definitely has more of like this yellowy like olive tone to it, but it still looks so pretty. When I first looked at it, it was super intimidating for me, but once I tried it on, I really fell in love with this color. I'm going to use Ginger first all over the lips to kind of give that shade Golden like a base to kind of blend into. Then once I have that on, I'm going to add Golden right on top. And then finally, just to set the look, I'm going to use Urban Decay's All Nighter Setting Spray. And that pretty much completes this look, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this makeup tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thank you again, guys, for watching. I love you, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.